נפלה לעולם שעבוד בגאולה, שתב הגאולה, הרי לומר
Erev Tov, everyone. Parsha Noach. So the Ribono Shel Olam makes a commitment to human beings, covenant, that he will not destroy the world. Even though the world is little improved from the generation of Noah. But, so to speak, heaven sees that bringing the flood doesn't change people. Very hard to change people. And, no matter what occurs, it's still difficult for people to somehow give up their ideas and their plans and their way of life, etc. So the Ribono Shel Olam makes a covenant with us. And the covenant is that of the rainbow. It's kashti nosati be'onon. I put my keshet in the clouds. All the Meforshim say the rainbow is actually, after all, a natural phenomenon. It's the water has the ability to break down white light into its components, which is what causes us to see all the colors. So then what was special? And the Meforshim say that what was special is that the rainbow is a symbol of hope. It's always been that way with people. It's a natural phenomenon that people enjoy seeing and that somehow is a comfort. And it also comes after rain, which sometimes is a blessing and sometimes is less of a blessing. But the rainbow is always a blessing. So therefore, Chazal, when they composed brachot, blessings to be made, so we have a special blessing that we make upon the sighting of a rainbow. And the Gemara brings an interesting story. The story is about Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi. Appears both in the Yerushalmi and in the Bavli. Same story, but in different words somehow. Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi passes away. His soul comes to heaven, and he's well respected in heaven. So they ask him, who would you like to sit next to up here? Which is interesting that there are seats up there too. Who would you like to sit next to? So the Gemara says that Yeshua ben Levi thought about it, and that he answered he wants to sit next to Reb 'Shimon ben Yochai. Reb 'Shimon ben Yochai was the Rosh Hashanah. He was the Rosh Hashanah of the Yeshiva. 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 He was He was buried in Maron, in the great Talmud of Rabbi Akiva. According to tradition, the Baal HaZohar wants to sit next to him. So in heaven they say, okay, and they put a seat for him next to Reb Shimon ben Yochai. However, we understand all of this. The Gemara always talks to us as though we are children, because we are really essentially children all of our lives. So he sits down next to Reb Shimon ben Yochai. So Reb Shimon ben Yochai says to him, Mi ata? Who are you? Why should, so to speak, I should be forced to have a neighbor that I don't know? So he says, I'm Yeshua ben Levi. He says, oh. So he asks him a question. Anira so hakeshes biyomecha. When you were alive, were there rainbows? So this question is based upon the idea that the Gemara says regarding Chizkiyahu HaMelech, the great righteous king Chizkiyahu, that as long as Chizkiyahu was alive, lo nira so keshes, there was no rainbow. So there are two ways to look at this. We can look at that as being negative, but the Gemara chooses to look at it as a positive. The Gemara looks at it and says, as long as you have such a righteous king as Chizkiyahu, as long as you can see such a tzaddik in the world, there's no necessity for us to produce a rainbow. The whole purpose of the rainbow is to remind us, Kaviyachal, of heaven. The whole purpose of the rainbow is to strengthen the covenant. If you have Chizkiyahu HaMelech, you don't need any of that. So therefore, Shimon ben Yochai asked Rabbi Shimon ben Levi, how about you? When you were alive, was there a rainbow? So Rabbi Shimon ben Levi understood the import of the question. He's asking him, what kind of tzaddik are you? And Rabbi Shimon ben Levi, the Gemara says, was modest. One of his great qualities was that he was modest. He had humility. So he answered him, I don't think so. I think there was a rainbow. So the Gemara says that Shimon ben Yochai said to him, Im kain eincha bar Levi. If that's the case, you're not Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi. I don't know who you are. But you have no right to sit next to me. So the Gemara says the truth was that during the lifetime of Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, lo nira so akeshet, there was. But he was modest. He didn't want to say that he was such a big tzaddik. So there's a tremendous lesson here. The lesson is that every human being is a rainbow, so to speak. A righteous human being people see a good person. If you see a good person, then you know there's heaven. You know there's a moral structure in the world. That's why Chazal say, Hoyu einecha ro'os es morecha. Chazal were not in the photography business or in the picture business. But they said your eyes should always see your teachers. You should see the great men from which you stem. The Gemara says that when a Talmud Chacham came to town, so then the whole town closed up. Everybody ran outside to see the Talmud Chacham. That's not the worship of a person. That's the worship of an ideal. That there are people in the world that because of them you don't have to see a rainbow. You don't need any special covenants. The existence of good people is itself the greatest testament to the fact that we're created by God and given a soul. Because otherwise, why should a person be good? The person should be like the animals. There's no such thing as a good lion or a bad lion. A lion is a lion. And the animal behaves like a lion. So because the lion kills the antelope, do we say he's bad? No, that's nature. So how can we make moral judgments about people unless we believe that people are not animals? And that they should not behave like animals. We're witness how people can behave like animals. No rainbow in the world can help that. They see the rainbow too. There's a rainbow over Gaza. Doesn't mean anything. It's people that mean everything. That's an important lesson to remember. It has to do with raising the next generations. It has to do with our schools. It has to do with our society. We're interested in people. And that's what the Torah said in Chumash Bereshis. The Torah described itself. Zeh Sefer Toldos Odom. This is a book about people. It's not a book about laws. It's not a book about, quote, religion, unquote. It's about people. And therefore, we should always attempt to be a good person. We're the rainbows. We're the example. And the Lord should help us that we should be able to do so in goodness and in tranquility and security. Rabbi Chananya ben Akashi Omer Rotza HaKadosh Baruch Hu L'Zakas Es Yisrael Lefichach Yirbo Lahem Torah Mitzvot Shenemar V'Kol Chafetz Siman Tzidko Yagil Torah Yah.